I suppose you think I'm being childishly peevish with you just because you don't happen to like my book.
You did ask me to be honest.
I didn't ask you to smash something altogether that does happen to mean quite a lot to me.
Then I think it's wrong that the book should mean anything to you at all. Believe me, David, it isn't worth a moment's thought. It's plain downright bad.
Of course it's bad. Don't think you're telling me anything I don't know.
Well, why did you give it to me to read then? I don't understand.
No, you don't. That's where I was so idiotically wrong. I thought you, of all people, would understand.
I'm sorry, David. What have I done?
All right, I'll tell you. You've talked a load of bunk to me about the worthless life I'm leading and about how I ought to change it into something better, haven't you?
Everything I've ever said to you, David, I've meant.
Then why the hell do you have to go and cut the only link I've got between what I am now and what I'd like to be?
Oh, I see. I was a fool. You didn't want me to be honest about the book.
I wanted you to lie as you'd never lied before. I wanted you to tell me it was good, and I wanted to believe you. You were the only person in the world I wanted to hear that from.
I didn't realise the book was only a symbol. I thought it was something more.
How could it be anything more when it's as bad as it is?
It could be something more. If you started it again.
Don't make stupid jokes, they bore me.
I think you're the most spineless, gutless creature in the whole world.
Well, I'm glad you found me out.
But I think I'm happier at this moment than I've ever been in my entire life.
Why?
Because now I know you need me.
You're wrong. I don't need you.
I know you do now.
Why don't you go back to Peter and stop chasing me for a second? God, I wish I could hate you.
Don't try, David. Please don't try. I think I should die if you ever stop being in love with me.
Listen. Have I ever told you I was in love with you?
You haven't needed to. I've always known. Why we haven't done that before, I don't know. Let's sit down.
Are you a human being, or are you a fish by any chance?
Does this feel like a human being?
You'll die if it goes on like that.
What about yours? It's slower than mine.
It's more constant. Far more constant.
Don't say things like that, David. It frightens me.
Why?
Because we happen to be in love with each other. And I don't like you to talk to me as if I was one of those girls who sleep with one night and forget about the next. Come on. Let's be sensible.
God, why did I have to fall in love with you? Why don't you leave me alone?
I'm not going to leave you alone for the rest of your life.
That's the most alarming thing I've ever heard.
You bet it's alarming. It's bound to be alarming to be whisked back 20 years and made to start one's life over again.
Is that what's going to happen to me?
It is.
With someone to help me, I could start again. You said that to me once, do you remember?
And you said it wasn't possible. But it is, David. I know it is.
I hope it is. God, I hope it is.
How's Joan going to take this?
Is that necessary?
Yes, David.
God. I suppose I'll have to tell her.
I'll tell her.
I ought to.
I'll tell her, David.
You take a pretty gloomy view of my character, don't you?
It's easier for me. David, she isn't in love with you or anything, is she?
Good Lord, no. No.
Has she ever been?
I don't suppose so.
Why did you get married then?
I've no idea. We'd been having an affair. Then one day we were a little drunk and thought it might be fun to get married.
You don't think that she'll mind much about us then?
She won't show any emotion at all. She'll probably be rude to you in a vague sort of way.
It's all right. I can cope with that. I like Joan. You're very fond of her, aren't you, David?
Of course. It's worked very well being married to her. We've got along marvellously, considering everything for the last 15 years. What about Peter?
He'll be terribly hurt, poor thing.
I better tell him.
Darling, I love you when you're all noble and self-sacrificing. It's so unlike you.
Thank you so much.
I'll tell Peter. I'm having dinner with him. I'll tell him tonight. What's the matter?
Promise me you won't leave me and go back to Peter.
No, I won't. I only thought I was in love with Peter. I liked him. I still like him enormously. If I hadn't met you, I would have married him.
He's your age. You've got everything in common.
But having met you, I've no intention of marrying Peter. I've every intention of marrying you. So, David, will you marry me?
Yes, I'm afraid I will. I only hope I won't make you too miserable.
I shan't care.
Damn this kid always sticks. 15 threepence each. God bless Woolworths. Helen, I bought you a little present.
Thank you, Joan. Oh, it's sweet. What is it?
You stick it in your hat, darling. David, I bought you some shaving soap.
I don't need any shaving soap.
Oh, no, but it'll come in useful later anyway.
Thank you very much.
No trouble. When I go to Woolworths, I simply love to buy up the whole shop. Williams! I bought John this little duck for his bath. Do you think he'll like it?
I'm sure he'll love it.
Williams, these are the glasses for the party. Will you take care of them, please?
Yes, madam.
How are things going in the dining room?
Quite well, I think, madam.
I'll come and help you in a minute. Oh, Lord, why one gives these parties, I never know. Oh, David, I've forgotten something. You'll have to go down to the cellar and bring some bottles of wine out.
Can't Williams do that?
Well, no, of course he can't, darling. He's far too busy. Besides, you know he's got a passion for Buy British. If I send him down, he'll probably come back with a couple of flagons of somebody else's glorious Emu.
Nobody will drink wine anyway.
I know, darling, but it's nice to have it all the same.
How many do we want?
About a dozen bottles, I think.
How many pairs of hands do you think I've got?
Well, I'll get John to help you. Where is the old trunk?
In David's room.
Oh, John! Come out of there! He's probably in a delicious coma.
I am not, nor have I been in a coma. I have been reading Gibbon.
I'm sure you have.
John, you've to help David bring some bottles of wine up from the cellar.
But there are some stairs to go down.
It'll do you good.
Can't David do it by himself?
Now, don't be grumpy. Be a good boy, and when you've come back, I'll give you a little present.
Give me my present now, and I'll see if it's worth my while.
All right. Do you like it? It's for your bath.
Yes. It's lovely. Thank you.
David, the keys for the cellar are hanging up in the kitchen. I'm going next door to see how Williams is getting on.
Come along then, John. Let's get this ordeal over.
You go ahead and choose the wine. I'll be down in 2 minutes. I just want time for one little sip. I'm feeling a trifle weak.
Helen, will you see that he does come down?
I will.
May I be the first to tender my congratulations?
You've been listening.
Only to parts of your conversation. Some of it was too embarrassingly sentimental, even for me.
What a filthy trick.
Isn't it? It's a habit I've never quite been able to break myself of. You do realise, of course, I'm not in the least bit sincere in my congratulations. I think you're both of you making a huge mistake.
I don't think it matters much to me or David what you think.
Oh, no, I realise that. Still, I'd never forgive myself if I let this moment slip by without uttering at least one word of warning.
You can keep it to yourself. I'm not listening.
Now, I was at school with David, and I've known him pretty closely ever since. You, I think, have known him for a month.
That makes no difference. I know him better than any of you.
My dear little lamb, you're in love with him. You've so romanticised and glamorised him that he hardly exists at all outside your imagination. A romantic little girl's imagination.
That's a lie.
Now, I'll give you credit for enough brains to see one side of David that most people have missed. You've seen that he's got a vague desire to get away from the life he's leading now.
And that's exactly what he's going to do.
And that's exactly where you're both making your mistake. He can't do it, my dear. Believe me, it's quite foolish to bring that ambition of his out into the open, because you see, it isn't a real thing at all. And when you do, it'll fade away into nothing. Just like that.
I don't believe you.
Why should you? You're in love with him. Oh well, duty calls. I'll leave you with one more thought, my dear. David can't go back and change because, although he wants to, he hasn't got the character to do it. Now I have got the character to do it. But then again, you see, I don't want to. So there you are. That's life, my child. Ponder it. It's worth pondering.